What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we're gonna talk about the fact that Bungie kind of just leaked the upcoming Season 19 PvE meta, and they've done this before, and how they do so is talking about the upcoming Season 19 artifact mods. As you guys know, these are huge defining factors within the meta. Stuff like Classy Restoration, giving volatile rounds for picking up a Void Elemental Well back with the Witch Queen. These are super powerful and very important when developing your build. So by providing this information on what's to come, we can do some preparation. So get ready to dig around in your vault and infuse some gear. Now, first things first, Bungie actually says that the past few seasons have been defined by a certain elemental subclass. When Solar 3.0 got remade, there was a bunch of mods that affected Solar. Same with Arc, same with Void. Next season, Bungie specifically says that Stasis is getting some love. So expect Stasis builds to be very powerful next season. I actually did a previous video talking about one of my favorite PvE builds, the Stasis Warlock. I already think that build is S tier, and Bungie is specifically buffing several aspects of that build. And now you add on these Season 19 mods, whew, that build is going to be nutty, so definitely check that out. But moving on from there, the next thing I think is really going to impact the meta is the fact that Bungie says there's going to be Unstoppable Grenade Launcher as a mod. Now, this is super important because every season we usually have a bunch of anti-champion mods that affect primary weapons, and obviously these are very important. Having weapons that can deal with champions is going to be relevant in most activities in the game, especially higher level activities, nightfalls, master difficulty things, etc. So the fact that you have special and heavy weapons able to deal with champions is huge for build crafting. But Bungie actually continues and says that they're kind of remaking the old Breach and Clear mod to more align with Void 3.0. Guys, Breach and Clear was one of the most powerful PvE mods to ever be made. It let grenade launchers provide a weaken effect to enemies, so you didn't need to tether the boss. You could just shoot a grenade launcher at him and it would be the same effect, massively improving your overall DPS output, because now your tether guy could switch to a golden gun and you would just unlock so many different high DPS builds. So if this is coming back in any way, shape, or form, if it is even remotely similar to the original Breach and Clear, grenade launchers will be the defining weapon type of the Season 19 meta. So what type of grenade launchers should you go after? Well, importantly, we need to talk about firstly the Wither Horde, which Bungie just announced is getting nerfed, as well as the Anarchy, which has also been nerfed to crap. Now, last time Breach and Clear was in the meta, both of these weapons were unbelievable. They had not been nerfed yet, but mainly it was because they provided damage over time. You could stick an enemy with an Anarchy, for example, and that would continuously damage them, therefore continuously provide that weaken effect. So even with the nerfs, these could be super important to get that continuous damage effect. But some other grenade launchers you definitely want are firstly one with blinding grenades and auto-loading holster. These are the gold standard when it comes to ad clearing. So the Pardon Our Dust is fantastic. The Lingering Dread from the Duality Dungeon is going to be insane because this is Stasis. It can get Chill Clip, which may synergize with those Stasis mods also coming. But again, something like the Empty Vessel, anything with auto-loading and blinding, you want one. Then you also really want a good wave frame grenade launcher. So like the Forbearance here with Ambitious plus Chain Reaction, unbelievable for ad clearing. Wave frames are very easy to use, but a more accessible one, the Explosive Personality, that was just a seasonal weapon, is again amazing. Now the one other thing you might want to consider is some of you may have an ignition code from Season of Splicer. This was around when Breach and Clear was back in the game, and this could get slide shot, letting you shoot, slide, shoot, slide. You could just pump out grenade launchers so fast, and this was really good for just high DPS bursts. Moving on from there, guys, let's talk about the other weapon types affected by anti-champion mods. So there's going to be anti-champion hand cannons. So we're starting here with the Time Lost Fatebringer, one of the best PvE hand cannons in the game, but mainly you're looking for a hand cannon with explosive payload. That is going to give you infinite range for that explosive damage, increase your damage overall, and it just lets you trigger anti-champion mods more consistently. Another good one, the Judgment here, has timed payload instead, which has a lot of these same effects. But most recently, the Zyuli's Bane, which can get explosive in that left-hand column and then incandescent or even one for all, is again going to be amazing. But just a hand cannon with explosive or timed payload is really what you want. Now, the next weapon type is Scout Rifles. So, for Scout Rifles, one of the best ones for PvE is just this Night Watch, and you can get this specific role from the new player quest. You can go to the quest kiosk in the tower, grab it and bang it out super quick and get one with overflow explosive payload. Again, super good for PvE. But some other options are firstly the Tarnished Metal. Brand new from Season of Plunder, this can get a Shoot to Loot or Demolitionist in this slot. Both would be fantastic combined with explosive payload. Very, very good weapon. And I think the first explosive scout that's arc, so very important there. But also you have the Doom of Chelchis. This thing is absolutely nuts. It can get explosive in that left-hand column, super rare, which means you can combine it with One for All for a massive damage boost. Unbelievably good. Again, you're kind of looking for explosive payload or time payload or whatever, just like hand cannons. Moving on from there, guys, bows are also going to be anti-champion. So the first one here, the Fel Teradiddle. This is arguably like the best PvE bow in the game. I love this thing. It's craftable, super accessible. It can get Archer's Tempo combined with Explosive Head. It's a lightweight frame. It actually has a pretty relevant origin trait, reducing incoming damage. Very, very good weapon that I think is often overlooked by a lot of people. But the next weapon here is a classic, the Arsenic Bite. I know a lot of you guys have this because it has been a world drop weapon for so darn long, but it can get Rampage in the first column, which is extremely rare, and you can combine that with Explosive Head. Fantastic weapon. And then one more I'm going to showcase is a new weapon, but it's the Strident Whistle. This is dropping from the Strike playlist, and it is a solar bow that can get Explosive Head. I think the first like non-sunset one, so definitely worth grabbing one of those. Moving on from there, Pulse Rifles are a featured anti-champion weapon, and right off the bat, we have the new purpose from the Duality Dungeon. This thing is like a hack for later level content because it's a stasis weapon that can get adaptive munitions. I think it's the only one in the game that can have that. So it goes in your kinetic slot, but it can deal with enemy shields in match game content. Do you know how insane that is for build crafting? It means it opens up so many different possibilities because this can deal with every element of shield. But another great one is the Smite of Moraine from the Kingsfall Raid. This can actually get Focus Fury plus One for All, the only weapon, the only pulse rifle in the game that can get that, and holy crap, you're stacking damage on damage with that thing. Another great one is the Insidious from the Vow of the Disciple raid, Dragonfly plus One for All, for an incredible ad-clearing wombo combo. And importantly, Dragonfly is actually getting a buff in Season 19. The Dragonfly spec effect is being rolled into the original perk, so I don't need Dragonfly spec anymore. I can put on, a magazine extending mod, major spec, so that's actually a huge increase in power to that weapon. Next up, we have auto rifles, and overall, the Duty Bound is probably like the best one because we're talking about weapons that can deal with champions. This can get some great perks here, and then it can get Stunning Recovery, where stunning a champion refills your magazine, triggers health regen, and improves recovery. So, I mean, what more could you ask for with a weapon that's meant to deal with champions? But if you don't have that, the Sweet Sorrow is very accessible. It can get stats for all, plus 1 for all, great wombo combo, plus that land tank origin trait is fantastic. Really good weapon there. And the last weapon type we're going over that can deal with champions is going to be submachine guns. So first off, we have the submission from the Valve the Disciple, arguably one of the best SMGs in the entire game, especially for kinetic, subsistence, frenzy. A great origin trait, fantastic. The Callus mini tool is another great one. This defined the meta within Season of the Haunted. Incandescent is such a good perk, really great weapon. But then I have the Unforgiven here from the Duality Dungeon. Love this thing. It can get Demolitionist plus Adrenaline Junkie, and that on a void weapon when you're talking about volatile rounds coming from your grenade kills, very, very important. And then for arc, I'm just going to go with a classic here, the Ikilos SMG. Zur was selling a very good one of these pretty recently, and it can make Warmind cells. It can get a pretty darn good perks with Threat Detector plus either Surrounded or Demolitionist. I usually actually pick Demolitionist. I value the grenades more, but just an overall great weapon. Now, all those things I just showcased are really like the best of the best, some of the most powerful weapons in the entire game, and obviously, if they are part of featured anti-champion weapon groups, you slap one on, you're going to be doing fine, even in endgame content. If you don't have those, a lot of them are coming from stuff like dungeons and raids and so on. Just improve, infuse whatever the best of the best you have of those weapon types I talked about. Again, those weapon types are really going to be what you need to invest in order to have great relevant builds, because you are going to need to deal with champions and most content coming next season. Guys, that is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.